Okay guys, welcome back. It is RacerX, and today I want to talk a little bit about optimizing the setup for your Hellcat. Obviously I've got my Hellcat here. It makes 1,000 horsepower. I feel like it does it very, very efficiently, and I'd like to share some of the details of my setup with you guys and tell you why I think that setup is perfect for a Hellcat. But also I want to tell you a little bit more about maybe the setup that I had previously that I think is great for maybe certain, driving conditions and things like that. It's all about the way you drive your car, guys. So I want to share a little bit of knowledge with you guys about that. Also, if you are new to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And hey, let's do it. It's time to awaken the beast. My neighbors love this part. Fantastic. Well, there she is. So all I've done here is optimize what's already done to the Hellcat. So my setup is a 275 upper pulley from Metco. As you can see, that green belt there right behind me, that is a 275 upper pulley. So we've replaced the stock pulley with that smaller pulley, spins the blower faster. I also have a Innovators West 10% lower pulley. So that combination together, guys, makes about 19 pounds in optimum air. I've actually seen it as high as 20 in really, really good air. And that is about as comfortable as I feel spinning the supercharger. Any more than that, I feel like the supercharger is just spinning too hard. It's creating too much heat. I feel like the 275 and 10% combination is a fantastic, very efficient combination for this particular blower. It's right in that efficiency range. I feel like a lot of guys like to go to just the 2.5 upper. A lot of guys like to go to the 2.65 upper and 10% lower and spin it even harder. And yes, the car will make slightly more power, but it also creates more heat. And it also, I think it's outside of the efficiency range of the blower, because I have raced guys with 2.65 uppers and 10% lowers, and even though it makes more power on the dyno, this is important, it's not necessarily faster at the track. For some odd reason, this car still, even though it makes slightly less power, it seems to still outrun those other cars. For whatever reason that is, I don't know, but I believe the 275 upper, 10% lower combination is absolutely perfect. A couple other mods of note, guys. Here I've got a catch can from a company called JLT. There are several companies that make them, but I do feel like they're a really nice, relatively inexpensive little mod to help keep the oil out of the air intake system. Also, you guys, here's something that is kind of debatable. I still have a stock Hellcat air intake, and also I run a stock Hellcat filter. So it's important to kind of note that I actually put a K&N filter in this, a little drop in, and it actually did not flow as well as the stock Hellcat airbox and filter combination. So something to think about there, guys. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot else going on up here, guys. That's really all you need to do to make that sort of power with some fuel adjustments. I actually run E85 fuel. Now, there is a lot of debate about E85 fuel. Is it better than race gas? One thing is true is that it is far less expensive than, $12 or $15 or $18 per gallon with race gas. Now, I had to make some adjustments, so there are some upfront costs to running E85, but once it's done, I feel like it is fantastic, because E85 is a very forgiving fuel. If your car is tuned right, it's like getting race gas from the pump, guys. My car is unbelievably consistent on E85. I feel like it is a fantastic fuel, and ever since I went to E85, I've been very, very happy with it. Now, I have had to make a couple of adjustments. I had to up my injector size, so I currently run 1300cc injectors, but I am running stock lines in the car. Also, guys, you have to make sure that you get enough fuel through the motor, which means that you have to upgrade your fuel pumps. So I did that. I did twin drop-in 450s from a company called 4 Innovations. And they have a triple hat system as well, which I feel like is maybe slightly overkill for my particular build. A lot of guys will say, look, just throw a booster pump on it and call it a day. In my personal opinion, I feel like a booster pump is a band-aid when you're making this much boost, this much power. Will it work for a while? Yes. I've seen guys run with it okay. I've also seen guys that are really, really inconsistent with just a booster pump setup. And, you know, my personal feeling is you have to make sure the fuel system is right if you're going to run that kind of boost, that kind of fuel. You know, just make sure you do it right. But the stock lines will hold that amount of power, guys. Now, if I go up in power, I'm going to have to upgrade. I'm right at kind of the threshold in terms of you know, the power that I can run with stock lines. But you know what, guys, my setup is very, very consistent, and I think that is the key to having a fun car that you know it's going to go out and perform every time. Now, I realize that there's kind of a big debate on, you know, what is better, right? E85 or just dedicated race fuel. I want to tell you why I decided to go E85. I used to run a race fuel setup. Like I said, the good news is that E85 is readily available near me. And it's really important that you guys understand that if you don't have E85 readily available, you know, it may not be a good option for you. But here's the thing about E85, guys. It is such a consistent fuel. It doesn't seem to be bothered by like DA or humidity. And in my experience, when I ran race gas, it was a bit more temperamental. Whenever, you know, the DA would either drop way, you know, come way down or go up or whatever, the car seemed to just, it either needed an adjustment or, you know, whatnot. But for some reason right now, I can use the exact same tune, and on E85, the car just goes and it just works, and it's very, very consistent. It doesn't seem to care so much about DA. It doesn't seem to care so much about humidity or grains in the air. So definitely, you know, like I said, there's an upfront cost. There's an upfront cost to the E85, the injectors and the pumps and things like that. But once you get that setup on the car, guys, it is fantastic. Now, for you guys that are naturally aspirated, you like 392 guys, I don't think you're going to really benefit a whole lot from E85. Maybe a slight amount in power, add a slight amount of timing. But guys, on my boosted car, man, you can really add the power. I think I run somewhere around 20 degrees of timing on my car, and the car takes it literally all day. And I've got I won't say a super safe tune, but I've got a fairly safe tune, and one that I know will be consistent and really kind of always work, and I'm not super worried about anything happening to the motor. So something to be said, guys, for the fuel, you know, for the fuel piece. Obviously, the other big thing is, yeah, E85. I think I just paid $2 a gallon for it. It's fairly cheap versus race fuel, which could be anywhere basically from $9 up to $17 a gallon. And the other thing is I don't have to run the fuel out of the car because I run E85 all the time. So when you're on race gas, you have to actually, you know, you got to run the car all the way down to basically no fuel and then run the race gas in it. And oftentimes you have to switch your tune over. Right now, I don't have to do any of that. I just run whatever fuel's in the car, no switching tunes, no any of that. And so from a simplicity perspective, guys, it is perfect. I do also want to address something else, guys. I don't daily drive the car anymore because it is on E85. It's not that I can't, because that car, as fast as it is, I could daily drive it, which is cool. But before I had this setup, I had a different setup, and not everybody's interested in voiding their warranty, guys. I did pin the crank on my car and did some things that you just kind of, you can't go back from it. But I had enough miles on the car where I felt comfortable doing it. For those of you guys that have a brand new Hellcat, one suggestion that I have, if you don't want to void the warranty, you can actually get another PCM, right? And then have your tuner tune the new PCM, keep your stock PCM intact. And this is just my suggestion, so this is what I did before, guys. I went to a 285 upper pulley setup. The reason I like the 285 upper is because, guys, you're going to gain, I mean, hell, you'll gain 100 horsepower from just some supporting mods in a 285 upper. And also, you know, you can run pump gas. You don't have to change your fuel pumps. You don't have to change your lines. You don't have to change your injectors, but you can gain all that power, and it spins the blower a little faster, so you feel the torque a little quicker. It's just that 285 setup, I really, really enjoyed it, guys. I actually went like a 1050 in my Charger, full weight Charger Hellcat on my very first pass on those 20-inch Nitto drag radials. So guys, that setup really works. And anyway, you don't have to do a whole lot to it. I mean, you can do your normal exhaust and intake type stuff, a little 285 pulley, and it seems to work. You don't have to pin the crank with that setup. Certainly do your supporting mods, your drive shaft. I don't even necessarily know if you have to do the axles at that point, but it may not be a bad idea. But guys, that's a setup that you can kind of go back from at some point if you have a good relationship with your dealer. Once you get to the power level where I'm at and you do the things I've done to the car currently, yeah, it's a completely different story. Get yourself a drive shaft from DSS. That's what I run. I run the big 4-inch aluminum DSS. Works great. I don't have really any vibration. Works really well. They also make a carbon fiber version, which is a 3.5-inch diameter that works well. It's rated for the same amount of horsepower. I run G-force axles in the back that are 1,500 horsepower. They're very, very stout because I did snap an axle when I was in Houston. Makes a lot of power, guys, especially in low DA. So a couple other quick things. I also run a 309 gear, and I wanted to touch on this just real quick, guys. A lot of debate right now about what power threshold you should go to a 309 or not go to a 309 or whatever. I will tell you that my car runs fantastic with a 309 gear. But the tuning is a little bit more difficult with the 309 because it comes on the shift so fast. It comes up on that 1-2 and the 2-3 very, very quickly. And so the predictive shift kind of comes into play and stuff like that. So you've got to work with your tuner to get that thing right. But once it is dialed in, that 309 will get this car out of the hole. I've run 139 60 foots in this car, 140, 141 very consistently at the track with this. I really, really like the 309. Some guys still insist on the 262. You do have a little more top end with the 262. Some of you guys may have seen me run motor tube, and our cars were very evenly matched up to about 140 miles an hour, where he pulled me by about a half car before we shut down. That was all gearing. So kind of an interesting, way to do that. And really, guys, the only other big thing on my car is the killer chiller. And some of you guys may have seen the video on my killer chiller. Very, very neat system. You simply blast the AC when you get done running at the track. It actually super cools all of the coolant that runs through your blower, and it brings your intake air temperatures way, way down in very, very rapid fashion. It's a closed system. It's a no-brainer. It is a neat, neat mod, especially if you track your car a lot. So for tire setup, guys, I run regular Hellcat wheels. These are the regular 9.5-inch wide wheels that come from the factory. This is actually a Mickey Thompson normal street tire that I run on the front. It is a 275 width, so I just kind of keep things relatively standard on the front of the car. Now on the back of the car, that's obviously where things get interesting because those are the drive wheels. So every day I run this tire right here, which is a Nitto NT555R drag radial in a 305. It is a 20. Obviously it's the stock Hellcat rim. So guys, that means that the stock rim will in fact hold that 305. A lot of guys do know that, some guys don't, but that little Nitto drag radial actually grabs the road much, much better. Now at my power level, can I blow them off? Absolutely. 60 mile an hour, I can blow the tires off this thing. But it does add an element of safety, and the Nittos actually do pretty well in the rain, so something to consider there. Obviously at the track, guys, it's a little bit of a different story, so I'll show you what I run at the track. Okay. There's my track setup right there. So that is a Dark Star 17-inch wheel. I believe it is 10 inches wide. That is a 305 Mickey Thompson ET Street R. I absolutely love, love, love those tires, guys. I think they work out great. Even as hard as my car hits, I think that, it's a radio. You can drive those things on the street. That's what's so cool. Sometimes I'll just throw those things on there and literally drive those on the street. And then behind me over here, you can see my front runners. Those are 18 by 5. And that is, guys, here's another quick thing. On the front runners, you have to go with at least an 18-inch tall wheel. So, because otherwise it will not fit over your calipers. So the 18 by 5 Dark Stars do fit over your calipers, but it is very, very tight. And you actually have to watch where you put the weights inside. They have to go all the way up front, right by the spokes, or they will hit the calipers. That's how tight the fit is on that setup. And I do go with a 28-inch tall tire so that the car doesn't slope down in the front. And it's actually, this setup, guys, actually drives really well on the street. So I actually drive this setup out to the track. I don't have to change my tires out or anything. And the great part about my setup is I don't have to change my tune either. So when I get to the track, literally all I do is I cool the car down, I take some pressure out of the back tires, and I run it, which makes it fantastic. So guys, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other pulley setups that are out there for these. Now, some debate out there about whether to go with a clutched pulley, and I know there's like a, I think there's called a Joker's Wild pulley or something like that. That's a clutched pulley. You know, I don't know much about them. It is kind of cool that it doesn't work all the time. It works a little bit more like a factory pulley does. So guys, I can't necessarily comment on that. I don't run that. I just run the regular Metco, and it works fantastic. A lot of guys also go for the like 250 upper by itself, no lower. Now, the one issue I have with that, guys, one is belt slippage. I've seen a lot of those cars with terrible belt slip issues, which once again may affect your consistency. And the other thing is you actually build more heat with that 250 than you do the other setup like mine. And I don't know, there's something to be said for that, guys. I feel like it's better to kind of distribute that over the course of the lower and the upper. Everybody's got their own unique way of doing it. I'm sure everybody out there has their own opinions on that. I'm just letting you know what works so well on my setup and why I like it. Another thing people ask me about, guys, is the use of nitrous. I knew that I would get some questions about the use of nitrous. Why don't you use it on your car? So nitrous, by its very nature, is a very volatile thing. Now, it works really, really well for people. It's not the most expensive thing out there to do. You know, there is some maintenance with it in terms of making sure your bottle temp is right, you know, your pressure, all that kind of stuff. Now, the main reason, guys, with the nitrous on my car that I haven't gone to it is that I feel like I'm right on the edge of what a lot of these stock components can handle. Keep in mind, guys, I'm running a stock motor, stock blower, stock transmission, all that kind of stuff is, you know, stock suspension, all that kind of stuff is stock, guys. So this car was made, you know, 707 horsepower. Now, can it hold more? Yes, it can. Obviously, I'm running 1,000 horsepower, and my car has been very reliable to this point. So if we spray it over the top, you know, with, say, a 50 or a 150 or a progressive all the way up to 250, which a lot of guys will do, I really do feel like the car is on borrowed time at that point. So even now, I'm a little wary about how much power I make with this car. It's been very reliable to this point. I love that. But guys, these Hemi motors are really expensive to replace. Even the transmissions in these cars are really expensive to replace. And I just feel like you're really playing with fire when you jump up to that next power level past where I am. I'm over 1,000 horsepower, guys. So we jump up to 1,300 horsepower. It's only a matter of time until something gives up. And guys, I just don't really have the pocket to be able to go out and just spend, oh, you know, a 10 grand transmission or whatever it is, and, you know, an extra 20 or, you know, whatever for a new motor. Man, it's an expensive game to play. It just depends on how bad you want that extra tenth or two, whatever it may be. But guys, it's a mid-9-second sedan. Do I really need to spray it and possibly, you know, either grenade the motor, grenade the transmission, whatever it is? So that's the reason I haven't moved to nitrous, guys. I feel like the car makes a lot of power as it is, and I wanted to maintain that reliability that I love so much about this thing. So what is it that makes this setup so optimal for the Hellcat? I feel, you know, here's the thing. You're spinning the blower at basically, it's not quite twice, but close to twice as fast as it is normally spinning from the factory. So normally spinning from the factory, maybe 10, 11 pounds, depending on your DA, elevation, all that kind of stuff, guys. So there are some dependencies there. But this car right now, in its current elevation, makes easily 19 pounds. I've seen it as high in 20 in really low DA. So what that means is that the thing basically comes out really, really hard, way faster than a normal Hellcat, because you're spinning the blower so much faster. That means the acceleration and the way the car makes boost is just much, much faster. So I actually kind of want to show you guys really quick just how fast this car makes boost. And so guys, I'm going to step in with just a gentle little tip, and you can see how fast this thing makes boost. Take a look. Actually, wasn't really that hard, guys. That was about half throttle. So as you can see, even at just a little like tip-in type throttle, this thing just makes boost really fast, and it makes it almost violent on the street, which makes it fun. So anyway, guys, that's the thing on a stock setup Hellcat. You really have to kind of dig into the pedal a little bit more to get that sort of a boost. But the boost in this thing comes on really hard and really fast, and it just makes this thing absolutely an animal to drive on the street or at the track. So guys, I just wanted to kind of point out some of the things that I've done and give you my take on what I feel like is the most cost-effective way to build really a monster for an amount of money that I feel like is not a lot for a car that makes that kind of power that will put you down into the 9-second range in a full weight either muscle car or sedan, whichever Hellcat you happen to have. I mean, what a cool world we live in, where you can do just a little bit of pulley work, you can keep the car very consistent, very streetable, and you can go out and run 9s at the track. So I just think that's a really, really cool deal. Now guys, I realize there are Whipples out there, and there are Ken Bells, big blowers, that will do different things, and there are other setups that you can put on this car. But if you want to optimize your Hellcat and not break the bank doing it, my setup actually works really, really well. And guys, I mean, like I said, all we're doing here is we're really kind of making whatever has already come from the car, from the factory, just work a little bit better. And we've made a 1,000 horsepower 9-second monster out of a car that initially had 700 horse. So guys, I'm very, very pleased with the car. I know there's going to be a lot of comments in the comment section about what's right and what's wrong. And hey guys, listen, everybody is entitled to their own opinion on what they feel like works. I'm trying to give you, kind of my story in terms of the way my car's set up, why I set it up that way, and the secret behind why my car is so consistent. Guys, there is an optimum setup for this car, and a lot of people think that what I have is kind of the optimum setup, and I just wanted to share with you what I've done, and hopefully make it a little bit easier for those of you that are on the fence about, hey, I want to do this to the car or that to the car. Just food for thought. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I can't wait to see you on the next one. RacerX.